Welcome to the dumbest smart guy podcast on the planet. This is the Central Unintelligence Podcast.
Oh yeah, here we go. Back again for another episode. This one, I think this one's gonna come out first because this has the Ukraine thing. So this is gonna be the one that you'll hear first.
Okay.
So when you go listen to the next episode talking about the English riots, we mentioned at the beginning that we'd be talking about the stock market thing. So you're gonna get that now. You're gonna get that right now. We're gonna talk about that here. So we're not gonna rehash it on that episode because that episode turned into just 30 minutes on the fucking English riots. But anyways, this one's going to be about Ukraine invading Russia proper and the stock market thing that happened earlier this first week of August, which was just 3 or 4 days ago.
Yes.
So anyways, before we get into that, GameRageMagazine.com. You can go listen to all our podcasts that we have. You can go to Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag, YouTube, Game Rage Magazine. Everything is there. It's the easiest way to listen to our shit because everything's all in the same spot, with the exception of a couple episodes of Slice of Dice and some other fun ones that went over 2 hours.
Too long?
Yeah, 2 hours is the limit for YouTube. So
Spotify though.
yeah, that's on everything else. If you want to get those, it's on everything else that we have. But on YouTube, well, now it doesn't matter because we're doing under 2 hours every single time. We're never going over 2 hours again, probably. But anyways, Adam's here with me today. I'm Josh. If you want to follow Adam, you can go to at All Gas No Trash Official, and you can also go listen to the All Gas No Trash podcast, conveniently located at all the places that I just told you about. So first thing we'll talk about is the stonks, the old stonk market. For those of you that don't know, Monday there was a massive sell-off of stocks. They said that it basically wiped out $1 trillion worth of money or wealth or whatever you want to call it. $1 trillion worth of liquidity, I guess maybe is what the best term would be referred to as. So essentially, the Japanese stock market opened and started selling off. So essentially what ended up happening is what's called the yen carry trade blew up, where basically when you have some kind of a commodity like a currency or whatever, right? If you have that commodity, that it's basically you're holding on to this asset, and then when you return it, you're basically taking the difference of the interest rate. So if, for example, it was a currency and the rate was positive, or if it was negative, then they would give you money to basically hold this, right? And so when you do that, people will leverage what they're going to make on the carry, and then they will buy other stuff with it. They'll invest other things. And then to make it even more complicated, they would take that profit and they would invest it in US dollars at the rate, with the exchange rate, because that also affected it, was how the dollar does versus the yen, or how the yen is to the dollar. Because the weaker the yen is to the dollar, if you buy when it's weak and then it gets stronger and the yen's worth more dollars, then you just made another compounded positive increase in what you have off of the stuff that you just did, basically. So it all just blew up on Monday. Now, that affected the Asian stock markets because that's where it's at. The Nikkei, the Japanese stock market, the Hang Seng, which is like the Chinese Hong Kong one, and then the Kospi is the Korean one. That one also fucking just blew up as well. They lost over 12%, some of them, of their value, which, like I had said earlier, wiped out $1 trillion worldwide worth of money, basically. And so that came over here. Ours rolling down maybe 3 or 4%. It wasn't like insane like over there, but it's still affected because people were having to sell off stuff in other markets to pay for the loss of what they were gonna have to take on this shit. So it caused this massive sell-off, and
so it's kind of like a domino effect.
Yeah, basically. One little domino fell out of place and it made the whole, well, we have these things now ever since the 1987 stock market crash called circuit breakers. And what the circuit breaker is essentially if a stock exchange loses 5% of its interest within a day or on the same day, it loses 5%. A circuit breaker is triggered, trading is halted for like an hour for them to like figure out, okay, what the fuck's going on? They reopen it, and then if it drops another like 3.5%, I think was the next, or maybe it's 2.5% is the next circuit breaker level, then they shut it off for the day. And then they say, okay, we'll come back tomorrow and see what happens. But the reason they did that was so that you couldn't have the stock market lose like it did in 1987, 20% of its value in one day. So now the worst you can, which again, this also seems illegal, or it should be illegal, because it's like, well, these guys are just professional gamblers at this point. If you're in the stock trades, you're just a pro gambler. And you take all that risk, and now you're gonna say, well, your risk is actually not that bad. Because like, we're only gonna allow the shit to lose 5 or 7.5% in a single day. So you'll never lose 20 where you'll wipe out everything you have. But, you know, that's kind of what they set in place. So after this happened, it also affected cryptocurrency too. Bitcoin, every cryptocurrency took a pretty large hit because of this, because people were selling their Bitcoins to fucking
cover the
losses when it was still kind of high. Because Bitcoin lost like $10,000 or $12,000 in value in that single day. Now, the next day, miraculously, all the stock markets are back up, basically erasing the losses that they took on Monday.
You're talking about the Japanese.
I'm talking about globally, everything, not just the Nikkei, the Kospi, the Hang Seng. The Dow erased and went higher, like essentially on the week. So did they. So now this one day of bad trading essentially was removed, was wiped out. And my personal opinion on this is, and this is going to be conspiracy theorists, so I'm not going to take it for what you will. But Warren Buffett is a major investor, right? Like, he recently liquidated, and he holds half of all of his assets in cash now. Like, all of his assets that he owned previously were, I think he only ever held like 10 or 15% in cash reserve, right? 50% of his entire net worth and wealth is in cash now. Like, he's pulled out a lot of stuff. So my thought on this is that we thought that this was because war was brewing. Like, that's what we thought this was happening.
Initially, yes. I mean, because that's happened in the past before. Where
right.
Even like the slightest idea of war, because it's like a domino effect. If everybody assumes that, I don't know, let's say rice, the number one producer of rice in some country, right?
Yeah.
Well, naturally, if the number one producer in rice is at war, that means the price of rice goes up.
Right.
And everybody flips the fuck out.
Yeah.
In this case, it's fucking grain with the Ukraine.
Ukraine, yeah.
So naturally, all products that are grain-based, like bread and all that shit,
through the roof or goes up. So I think we initially thought that's what it was, but it turned out it was this yen carry trade. Well, I think that this was partially manipulated to happen on purpose, because I think that people wanted to unwind some of their positions. And if you just start doing that, it's going to raise red flags to people who watch, because all the trades are open. You can see what's happening as it's going on. So if you give like an artificial reason as to why you would unload a bunch of shit all at once and pull out all your money and take it in cash, which is why I think it affected here so much, because the people that are in the know are like, oh shit, we need to pull out money from the stock market because it's going to tank. It's going to have a major correction eventually. I mean, it has to. It's the highest it's ever been, and it just keeps going higher, which there's no explanation for why that is. So, especially with the U.S. printing money and devaluing the money as it is, the stock market should be getting lower and lower every time they do this. But every time they do this, it gets fucking higher and higher. So I think that people that are in the know financially, they know that a crash is coming. I'm not saying when, who knows, it's fucking, you can't predict it. But they know it's gonna happen. Likely it could happen if we do enter into some kind of long-term conflict in the Middle East, or maybe even some sort of a global conflict, right? People that are in the know what's up, and they're pulling their shit out and they're keeping it liquid right now, because if you don't know what the stock market's going to look like in the next, if in 3 or 4 months,
why are you gonna hold any stocks?
Pull it all out, right? So that's kind of what I think this was, and it was like a cover for something to that effect, like, because it doesn't make any sense why the Japanese would have done this rate hike or whatever just out of nowhere. Like, it didn't, no one that's why it caught everybody off guard, because no one predicted that they were going to do this. They were going to raise their rates from negative to zero, which is what fucked this whole thing up in the first place. So if they did that to start a reason for people to need, that, again, the people in the know that are like, hey, we need to unwind all these assets, we need something to cover why we're doing this. Oh, okay, cool. The yen carry trade is going to just blow up tomorrow. All right, sweet. We're going to sell off fucking everything, or most of everything, and then fucking go from there. So I kind of think that that's the cover or the reason why this happened, and why it bounced back immediately the next day and basically erased all losses that had ever even had happened. So, which is very strange to me, why, like, again, the financial markets are insane. It's like you have to be an oracle and a tarot card reader and a fucking mathematician and a statistician. You have to be like 9 different things to be like a stock trader. And no one, I don't think, is good at any of it.
No.
Because they all just make shit up as they go along.
Yeah, if anything, it's like people have, I don't know, man. It's like people knew Nancy Pelosi was holding NVIDIA, and then the day afterwards she purchases it, the stock goes immediately up.
Yeah.
It's there's no way anybody's that fucking good. Even the best person at stock trading probably only wins like 30%. Actually, I don't know what the number is, but imagine how many more losses they take, or how many more gambles or losses they take versus how much they actually win. It's probably not that much, but
No.
if they get a commission, or if they get paid up front, they don't really care. They just need to hit a certain amount every time. For like, if you were working with a brokerage thing, like, they don't really care. I mean, unless you go with the fiduciary, then yeah, like, it's in their best interest for you to perform well. But it's like, it really, for me, I think it's just the fact that they have insider information.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, which totally makes sense. That's Nancy Pelosi sits on all the committees that would know shit, and there's literally an app. It's the Nancy Pelosi Stock Tracker app. Granted, they don't have to put them out right away, but you can trade based on like how Nancy Pelosi trades, and the guys who do that, they're up like 28% since they started doing it. So it's like, okay, yeah, she's doing it in volumes where she's making a lot of money. Whereas, like, oh, if you're not going to do it in the millions of dollars, you're 28% of, a couple $1,000s is only it's like a couple $100, right? It's not that much, but 28% of $10 million, that's $2.8 million you just made. So, I was going to say something when you were talking. I totally fucking just, my mind blanked about fucking this stupid stock market shit. Oh, I was going to say, it's kind of like baseball, where, yeah, if a guy who's a hitter bats 300, that's Hall of Fame level fucking hitting, right? 300. They're also gamblers in the stock market. And what's that fucking phrase? The house always wins, right? So if you take those two things into consideration, they probably only hit 30% of the time. But that 30% is what sustains them to win, to keep getting paid to do the shit, right?
Yeah.
Because the house always is going to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how it is. Like, even with like sports betting, the bookie is not in the business of losing money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna win. Like, they're gonna win enough to not have to worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they control the trades and like how it goes and like what's worth what. You know, so I don't know, but
the times they don't.
they're fucked.
Yeah.
Sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was basically what happened, and I do think that there is going to be more volatility in the stock markets. And I think this was just a little blip of a preview of, oh, hey guys, like the rich guys need to pull their shit out because we're going to dump this thing as soon as, I don't know what the trigger is going to be, but as soon as some trigger, it could be our presidential election, it could be the entrance into some new war that is looming on the horizon. Who knows what the trigger is, but once that trigger hits, I feel like the stock market is just gonna dump. They're just gonna dump this shit and take it back to fucking nothing.
Yeah, I mean, shit, dude. It's like they don't want to take any losses whatsoever. So it's like they're getting ahead of it.
Yeah.
And covering themselves.
Exactly.
For the future. So
yeah. Anyways, so that was that about stock market. Did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, it's just interesting how. I mean, as much as one would assume that nothing's really connected, everything's honestly connected or tied to one another. I mean, fuck, there's a whole subject about it in school, like macroeconomics. I mean, not that you would learn that in high school, but like at the collegiate level or college level, yeah, sure. But I mean, just understanding the behaviors of humans and then all the things, all the variables, dude, it just makes me think humans are not that fucking good at gambling. And
no, we're not.
But anyways, with the subject of Ukraine and
oh man, this is so good. This is so hilarious. Ukraine has now gone onto the offensive
cross borders.
With basically, from what I've been able to put together and what's been reported, the supposed number of guys that they went over with like 1,000 people, 1,000 dudes. They invaded Russia with 1,000 dudes and like 20 fucking tanks. They just said, fuck it, we're just gonna go balls out and we're just gonna invade this Kursk Oblast, which is kind of like a state, I guess. It's called a federal protectorate or a federal district or something like that, I think is what specifically is what it's called. The Kursk Oblast is, it's a federal subject of Russia is this oblast. So it's kind of like a state, I guess, that's run by the government. I don't know. Russia's weird, man. Their fucking shit's all wonky, especially after.
So it's like an unincorporated part of Russia, but it's still part of Russia.
Yeah, it's like it's not its own state, but it's like
a U.S. territory.
No, it's even more. It's like the federal government
protects them.
No, it's a subject of the federal government. So like they own it.
They don't do anything with it.
Well, they do. They let them administer themselves. But the Russian federal government like supports them monetarily and militarily and, you know, with like federal government type shit, but they just kind of let them run their own stuff. So
I gotcha.
It's like they get to vote, you know, in Russia. So it's like, I mean, I guess maybe it is kind of like a
U.S. territory,
like Puerto Rico,
yeah.
Kind of like that, except it's connected to them. So this fucking deal, they invade this and they immediately fucking take prisoner all the border guards. Like they all surrendered immediately. They're just like, yep, fuck this. And I'm like, man, see, that kind of sucks because unless you join the Ukrainians, like you're just going to get killed when you go back. When they prisoner swap you, they're just going to kill you. Like you're not going to get to live after surrendering to the Ukrainians, man. So they did this. They went in with a bunch of UAVs. I did get to see what is likely the first ever confirmed footage or video of a UAV drone taking out a helicopter. So this is the first time it's been video. it's not known if it's the first time that they've actually done it, but it's for sure the first time that they were picked or it didn't happen, all right? Because they got the video of it. So this fucking little drone goes up to one of those Hind Mi-8 fucking helicopters and just blasts and just detonates on the tail rotor, and this thing just... That's like how they started this off, with like some patrol helicopter. And so I guess this Kursk Oblast has been left very much almost unguarded. And the Russians kind of thought, we're beating them to death like with missiles and shit every day. So like that, they're not going to do anything. And oh boy, were they wrong, because now they did something. And there is a very big, what is it, like response by the Russians. Putin said that this is a major provocation, and I was like, and he says to invade another country's sovereign territory, and I was like, are you serious?
The irony is lost on him.
Like you did that 2 years ago, right? Like you literally invaded their country, and now you're gonna say how it's provocative and it's just an assault on your sovereignty when you don't think they should be allowed to exist. That's fucking rich. That is fucking rich. He also basically said that they, like the Ukrainians, they're just killing civilians and they're just doing all kinds of crazy shit. Now, listen, I don't know if that's true, but I will say if I was Ukrainian and I have been basically living in a foxhole for the last 2 years, and I got an opportunity to go into Russia, I'd be killing anything that's not Ukrainian, all right? Anything that doesn't, well, shit, they all look the same, but I'd be killing anything that wasn't fucking me, all right? I'd be committing war crimes 100%. So I don't know if these guys are doing that or not, but it's believable, but who knows? So now the fucking... The chairman of the Security Council, the Medvedev, the guy who used to be the president when Putin had to step down for 4 years or whatever, even though he still ran the shit, so that he could change the Constitution when he got reelected.
President, yeah.
So he said that the war is no longer just an operation to retake our official territories and punish these Nazis. It is possible and necessary to go to the lands of the still existing Ukraine, to all of the places, he starts naming all the cities, he says Kiev and beyond, and that the current military campaign will end when Russia has an unconditional victory over the entirety of the Ukraine. So now they're like, and I will say this. This is funny that the Ukrainians did this, and they are... seemingly now, because this happened on the 6th, today is the 8th, it's going to be the 9th, but they're now pushing towards a nuclear power facility that exists. It's, what is it, the name of it? It's called the Kursk Nuclear Power Plant, and it is known as the world's largest nuclear power plant. So, my running theory is that if they're going to want to take out the means of production for some of this stuff that's coming against them, well, this world's largest nuclear facility would be a great place to destroy or to disable. Now, I don't know enough about nuclear power plants to know if you can just disable it and make it very difficult for them to turn it back on, or if you have to destroy it in order to make sure that, like...
to render it useless?
Yeah, because if they're going to, like, cut some wires, you can just come replace the fucking wires, right? Because I know when... The thing that causes it to melt down for sure is when the cooling pools are not... like, when the power goes out. Like, when the power goes out and the cooling pools are turned off, that's what causes this shit to melt down, because it's all the decaying and spent fuel rods that are being kept cool so they don't fucking melt down. Well, they're all stored in this same fucking pool. So I don't know. I don't know if you have to destroy this thing to make it not useless. And if you do that, you're technically probably going to fucking make Chernobyl like not just 2.0, but maybe even like 10 or 20.0, depending on the level of destruction you have to do this thing, and depending on how much radiation it would release. So if I was Ukrainian, I would be I would take that and I would threaten to destroy it unless you left. You either leave Ukraine or we're going to blow this fucking nuclear power plant up and cause, essentially, you'll have not only the first largest disaster of nuclear power in history, but now you have the second, all right? Or maybe even this will become the first and that Chernobyl will be the second because this one will be so much bigger. I would threaten that. That's what I would do. But, because now you're all in. Because I've been saying this for the whole 2 years, there's a number. And when the number is reached of guys that Russia has thrown at you, you will not be able to repel them. And they're already starting to have this problem in the Ukraine because Russia has been taking heavy losses, but they've got the population to support replenishing those losses pretty quickly. Ukraine does not have that ability. They're taking, maybe fewer losses, but now they're to the point where 2 years in, they're like having such a hard time recruiting or finding people that are able to even serve in their military that it's just, they're running out of dudes. So I feel like this is kind of like their last gasp effort of like, we got to fucking try something. So I do think they're going for the nuclear power facility. I just don't know what the fuck they're going to do with it. So it is hilarious, this situation. Not a lot of information has really come out about how they structured this incursion into Russia. I would be very interested to see from like the strategic and the tactical standpoint as to what exactly they went in. This will be something that comes out years later. They'll fucking, this will be in a book I'll have to fucking read, I'm sure. But anyways, do you have anything?
I do. I think I do. I mean, they blow up that place. Shit, man. They create a barrier or buffer for people to, they basically, whatever the blast radius is or whatever it ends up being, that diverts everything. If they end up mobilizing, if Russia ends up mobilizing, they basically have to go around this roadblock to get to the Ukraine. Because this is right on the border, right?
Yeah, it's right on the border with fucking the old boy Ukraine.
So it's not the worst. Well, for Ukraine, it's not the worst thing to do that because it obviously sends a message to Russia.
Oh yeah,
that they're extremely hostile and they won't take shit from anybody. And if they end up blowing it up, well, it just creates an obstacle within their own grounds to get the logistics of how they're gonna go in between borders and shit.
Yeah.
And if they end up killing people, then that is a threshold that is, you can't walk that back. That's like, that'll further ingrain either side or both sides to make sure there is a victory and millions of bodies will be, well, who the hell knows what the count is at this point, but I'm sure there'll be numerous deaths before a victory is secured.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there fucking will be. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Obviously, this is a fluid situation, and what's funny is we've got this happening at the same time. Israel and Iran thing could blow up at any moment. We
2 weeks from now.
Yeah, we said it on the next episode that you'll hear is about, oh man, 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks, man. That's what it seems like is happening. It just like what we do with the numbers, we just move the goalposts further and further every single time. Like, we get to that day where it was supposed to happen. Oh no, it's 2 more weeks now. Okay, we get 2 weeks later. Oh no, it's in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
man,
but there's a difference. We actually accomplish our goals. We don't just make threats. We follow through on them.
That is true. We actually do follow through. So we can actually say here, Game Rage Magazine is better than the Iranian government at this point. So I think we can confidently say that. So anyways, don't send one of those Shahad missiles to my house. I swear to God. I swear to fucking God. If you do,
I will send a formal complaint afterwards.
I will send a formal complaint, complete with fucking C4 attached. All right. How dare you? Anyways, all right. We got anything else to add? Because we hit our 30 minutes.
Oh no, that's good enough.
All right, cool. Anyways, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you want to check out all of our other podcasts, you go to GameRageMagazine.com. And you can go to Twitter or Instagram and TikTok at GameRageMag, Twitter/X. God damn it, you made me fuck the whole thing up with your fucking trip walking. I will say that is some pretty excellent crip walking. Much better than other people that I've seen do it. Okay. Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter /X at Game Rage Mag, YouTube, Game Rage Magazine. It's the easiest way to see all our shit. Also, you can go follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official, and you can go listen to the All Gas No Trash podcast, which is conveniently located wherever you listen to podcasts and at all the places I just said. Anyways, that's it for us. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
That was the latest episode of the Central Unintelligence Podcast. Don't forget, subscribe and like on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine. We're also on Twitter /X at Game Rage Mag. Also our website, www.GameRageMagazine.com.